characterize them as the best worst team in all of basketball.
Yeah.
I honestly would. And we're talking about Houston, and I honestly think it's just pure laziness and lack of will to win.
No, that's
And not only that, but issues between teammates, as noted between Howard.
The chemistry
and
is messed up on this team.
I would say it's a lot. It's even worse, possibly, than Cleveland's to an extent.
That is saying something. I tell you that
Cleveland's is pretty bad.
Yeah, Cleveland's is all over the place.
It's worse than the Lakers.
Yeah. I think the Lakers will be just fine. But, no, man. Houston has so many problems. And you know what? People don't believe me. And remember back in December when I wrote that article about the Houston Rockets?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who was in that article that I wrote about?
James Harden.
Yeah, it was James Harden. It was James Harden. Now I said, what you want out of your superstar is a guy who is very consistent and a guy who plays hard. James Harden is lazy, man. James Harden is lazy, especially on the defensive end. You realize he has all the potential to be a good defensive player.
Yeah.
And he is one of the worst in the NBA on defense. He's one of the worst I've ever seen. For a guy who considers himself
an MVP.
An MVP, a superstar, an all-star.
That's something you also wrote about in the paper. It's just like the fact he had a nerve to say he deserved MVP.
Yeah, and then come out and not prove it. Show laziness.
How many times has he been on ESPN because of his defense?
Probably as many as he's been on his offense, honestly.
Yeah. That's fair.
Which is terrible. 4.5 turnovers per game.
He's got less than 2 assist-to-turnover ratio.
Wow. That's as bad as Phillies.
They turn the ball over a lot on that team.
Yeah. And you know what Houston does too?
I think for Houston, it starts from the top.
It really does. It really does. It's a trickle-down effect.
And to be fair, also, Kevin McHale didn't deserve to be fired for the situation.
Oh, God, man. That was one of the most questionable. Now, I don't know what was going on. Neither one of us knows what was going on behind the scenes there or how he was handling it. But from what we know and from what we've heard, that firing was a horrible disaster. It was a terrible move. Now, but on the other hand, this is they've got one of the best GMs.
Yes.
In the league. Like the guy who, the GM is just fantastic. And they've got a great front office. They've got a competitive front office that is always looking to improve. But you know what the biggest problem of this team is? Harden and Howard. They really are.
They're contagious to this team. And you know what? It's not even with their skill level; it's their lack of heart and leadership.
That's the funny part, because I think both of them, like Harden is the most. I'd say he's probably the best offensive 2 guard. I mean, I couldn't tell you.
You know what?
You've got DeMar DeRozan up there, who's right behind him. I'd say he's almost as good as him, but I'd still say that Harden's the best. And you know what? Even though we disagree with the way he plays, he gets to the free throw line a lot, and he scores a lot of points. But what's the cause? Like, you completely destroyed your all-star center in the process.
You realize that earlier on the season, he was number 6 in touches per game on
the team, not in the league. This is
a guy that was a multiple-time All-Star.
Clint Capella was getting more touches than this guy, and Terrence Jones. How sad is that, man? And why do you think Dwight Howard doesn't care? Dwight Howard's done here. He's done here. He's been disrespected too much. Now, to be fair, it's his own fault because he's a flipping clown. But you know what? At the end of the day, he has not shown that he is a valuable piece to this team. He has not done the things that he has needed to do when he has needed to do them. Yeah. And that is why this team has failed. But it is Harden's fault for making him feel like he's not part of the team. If you are really an MVP, you don't alienate your own players.
And honestly,
it happened to Dwight Howard in LA, and it's happened here too.
If I'm a GM and I'm the coach of this team, right off the bat, from day one in training camp, I want Howard to be my main guy. Even if he's not, I want my offense facilitating through him. You saw what wonders that did in Orlando. Mm-hmm. Why aren't they doing the same thing? They have one of the best 3-point shooting teams.
I can't tell you, and I hate their philosophy too. That's the biggest thing that drives me crazy about Houston is the philosophy, because they disregard mid-range.
Yeah.
Why? They say if it's not a layup or a dunk, we want to shoot a 3-point shot. When you shoot the ball 43 times, I think they actually got above 43 threes attempted in one game. Multiple times this year they've gotten above 40. Taking 43s a game. Are you crazy? That's no way to live. You're not Golden State.
Yeah.
Golden State doesn't take 43s a game.
They don't need to because
they don't need to.
Because they shoot at 40%.
Yeah. But their offensive system gets it to the rim. At the end of the day, they still get to the rim. Houston doesn't get to the rim. They end up taking bad shots. They need Harden to try to flail around and get to the free throw line. If Harden doesn't get to the free throw line, he's not having a good game.
The system that Orlando ran when they had Dwight Howard is that if he's not, trying to work one of those post moves.
One of the many post moves that he holds in his arm.
Turn hook.
Little, no. Or I like what Barkley said. He said one of those left-handed flippy things that he puts on.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that's a gem from Barkley. Jeez, man.
But you realize though, if he's not throwing up a hook, when he was in Orlando, he's gonna be a pass first guy.
Yeah.
If he gets double teamed,
he was a perfect floor space.
They gave him a situation where he could pass to the next open guy, and you know what? This team has as good or better 3-point shooters.
Yeah, that's kind of
the magic.
That's kind of the ironic part is that they've got a better system for Howard than they do for Harden. They don't have a good system for Harden.
No.
But they've got a great system for Howard, and they've totally blown him off and just totally written him out of the book. And it is sad. It's sad to watch. It's not as sad because it's Howard, but it's sad to watch any player get overlooked and just pass by like that.
Yeah.
It's sad. And that is why this team is failing. Period. Because those stars can't get along.
I don't know what you necessarily do in the off season because again, they have all the talent they need on this team.
I do think so. They need to get a 5 that's kind of. I'm not sure.
You think they need a backup 5?
I don't know. I honestly really couldn't tell you where this team is lacking, because you have Trevor Ariza, you've got Harden. You've got Corey Brewer. He kind of sucks. But
yeah.
I mean, he's not great. I mean, he's a pretty good defender.
That's your guard forward shooting 28% from 3 right there.
God, and that's why he was brought in. He was brought in to be a 3-point shooter, and he has one of the worst travels I've ever seen in my life. That didn't get called, but they got Moni Eunice. They got another guy who can stretch the floor. He's a great scorer.
And they also picked up Michael Beasley. I mean, that's probably a short-term thing, if anything. But you know what? He's producing for them in short.
He's actually looked very good.
Yeah,
I'd say he's looked very good.
And this is kind of like it seems like every team he goes to is like a make or break situation, but he's still producing.
Yeah, it's funny. We forget that he was dominant until he had his marijuana issues.
Yeah,
he was very. He was dominant
with what, Miami?
He was with Miami, Minnesota. I think he went to Phoenix.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then I think did he go back to Miami? And then he went back to Miami with he went back when LeBron and all those guys were there. Yeah, and then he hasn't had a stop since then. Since he was off Miami, this was his first stop since then. So
yeah,
I don't know, man. I mean,
I think it's just a lack of will to win.
It really is. I think it is mindset. It is mindset
and system too.
Yeah,
it's mindset and system.
I do like Bickerstaff. I do like JB Bickerstaff, John Blair Bickerstaff. He's a good coach, man. But he's not. He's not the coach for the team. He's too young. He's too young of a coach. He hasn't been there long enough. And you know what? He doesn't hold his players accountable.
No. Especially when Harden and Howard are
he lets Harden do whatever he wants, and that's dangerous.
When he's letting Howard and Harden come out and make statements about how they wanted each other traded or tried to.
God, I never understood.
You gotta take better control of your team. You can't allow for something like that.
I never understood how that stuff gets out. How does that stuff get out?
It's in the, it's in the training room. Whatever it may be.
Why is the coach not present there? Why is the coach not telling them, look, you guys better get along at least until the season's over? It's all off the record, sir.
It's all off the record stuff.
Yeah,
but somehow it gets around.
Makes it into the hands of somebody.
Yeah, it makes it to the media first and not the coaching staff.
Yeah.
That's the last thing you want to happen. Well,
first of all, that's the world that we live in now. That's the world we live in.
Lack of responsibility between people.
Media moves faster than the speed of light here. But we also have a bunch of coaches who are the exact same age as some of the players that they're coaching.
Yeah.
And that is where I start to lose it, is because we've become so encompassed on these coaches who have to be players. We've run out of players that coach. So now we have to go to guys who are 35, Luke Walton perhaps, and these guys become coaches. He and Iguodala played together at college. Mm-hmm. How do you respect a guy that you played with?
Yeah.
Like how do you say yes sir, I'll do that to somebody that you were like, yo, what up, Luke? How you doing, man? What up, baby? What up? Like how do you do that? And Iguodala is a respectful guy.
Yeah.
How do you make a guy who doesn't respect somebody? Yeah. How do you make James Harden say yes sir, I'll do that? There is no discipline anymore in the NBA. And that is why this team will not win a championship. That's why teams that don't have that form of discipline that says, if you don't do your job, I'm going to go find somebody that's better.
You could even possibly say the same thing about Cleveland to an extent.
Yeah. I mean,
you see the crap that's going on there.
I don't know about that.
I think I still
it's
think
a different situation.
There is accountability in those situations, but I still say it. The egos on both teams are both a country sky mile wide.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Their ego is definitely the issue, and that's
pure
the problem.
Selfishness.
Yeah, well, I don't know about selfishness. I think it's more entitlement.
Yeah,
entitlement is the real problem. Is we shouldn't be entitled for anything. We have to earn all of our stuff. That's why I always like the guys with the chips on their shoulders who actually have chips on their. Damian Lillard, he's got a huge chip on his shoulder.
That team, first of all, Portland doesn't get to where they're at without how he's played this year, and not only how he's played this year, but also C.J. McCollum.
Yeah,
both things came into training camp with. You know what? We're gonna prove, the entire NBA wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Didn't start off great, but that was expected.
They kept fighting.
They didn't give up.
They had the motor to keep working and to keep fighting to get better. And you know what? This team has done so well because they have fought so hard. They don't have any egos on that team. They play hard for their coach, and they play disciplined.
You didn't see the same thing when Houston started, 5-12? You did not see that at all?
My God, man.
Were they 5-12?
Something like that, yeah. They were horrible. Oh, I think they were 4-4 when they fired McHale.
That beats me. That really beats me.
There's something going on there. There was something going on there. McHale must have said something. Said, I'm not dealing with these guys. You can fire me, but I'm not dealing with Harden and Howard anymore.
I think, that's definitely the impression we got from his press conferences afterward.
Yeah.
We definitely got the impression, it's not me, it's them.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
That's funny. That's funny because it takes a lot.
How many times do you see a coach walk out? I gotta say, I think this was a voluntary firing.
I think so too. He said,
I have a feeling that is a voluntary.
You fire me if you want to. I'm gonna keep coaching the way that I'm gonna coach, and I'm not gonna care. And you can do whatever you want. You can keep me. I'm gonna take my money either way.
He coached them the right way for all those years too.
He built this team.
He did.
He built this team from the ground up. From Kevin Martin being gone, bringing in Omer Asik. He built the foundation of this team from the ground up. Building Chandler Parsons.
And they literally took that from
Built
him.
Patrick Beverly, and then they just casually fired him and moved on. Wow. I bet you he's enjoying his money now in retirement. He's enjoying his time off, being paid.
That's
retirement.
That's kind of how I felt with Indiana. It was a few seasons ago when they released Danny Granger. It's just like, this is the team that he built.
Yeah.
And they just let him go like that.
He was there
for a scrub.
For years.
For a scrub in Evan Turner.
Years.
And Andrew Bynum. They let him go for crappy players.
For years he built up. And he played hard. And he competed just to be traded away. That's too bad, man. It really is.
It's the same thing with McHale. He had a few bad, Houston teams.
Yeah.
Before it got to last year.
He had a couple 8-seed Houston teams that just barely made the playoffs.
Yeah.
7-seed. Yeah. They really.
It's the same situation.
It really is.
You know what?